From Azerbaijan's satisfying pools of hot bubbling mud to a surprisingly powerful eruption on a farm that covered everything in sight, here are 5 strange and incredible mud volcano eruptions. Gobustan National Park resides off the west coast of the Caspian Sea, about 40 miles south of Baku, Azerbaijan. Several astonishing sights call this park home, including Martian-like landscapes and cave art dating back to the Paleolithic era. While tourists travel from all over the world to experience Gobustan's ancient mythos, one facet of this park leaves them with more questions than answers. Of all mud volcanoes on Earth, almost half are in Azerbaijan and concentrated around Gobustan National Park. Contrary to their fiery big brothers, mud volcanoes ooze subterranean sludge and gas. That sludge begins as hot water heated deep beneath the earth. It mixes with other underground minerals, and then pressure forces it up through geological faults. The pressure can lead to a full-scale mud eruption or just a tiny bubble, which seems to be the most common at Gobustan. Temperature-wise, mud volcanoes vary. Some can get as hot as 212 Fahrenheit, while others get as cold as 36 Fahrenheit. In fact, some mud volcanoes act as popular mud baths, as they're believed to have special healing powers. However, that's not to say that mud volcanoes aren't dangerous. Methane is a colorless, odorless, flammable gas. Since 86% of the gas released from mud volcanoes is methane, these things are really just giant Bunsen burners sticking out of the earth. With about half of the world's mud volcanoes, Gobustan National Park is definitely a place worth checking out. Lokbatan is a small settlement of about 33,000 people in Baku, Azerbaijan. Historically, the area is home to a rich oil field and one of the biggest mud volcanoes. Many mud volcanoes are relatively harmless, but some can pose significant threats to anyone in the wrong place at the wrong time. In 2012, a man in the area captured footage of a mud eruption that was too close to a raging fire. Now, we all know that fire and methane gas don't mix, so nobody should be surprised by what happened next. As subterranean mud spewed from the ground, a nearby fire inches closer and closer. Finally, the flames get close enough to ignite the methane gas, and the mud-spewing volcano quickly turns into a giant ball of fire. While it looks like someone's oil refinery caught fire, what you're watching is a very natural process. Now, the exact reason why mud volcanoes catch on fire is up in the air among geologists. The most common and agreed upon theory is that rocks colliding in midair create a spark big enough to ignite the methane gas. If that's the case, it would be impossible to predict if and when a mud volcano eruption will turn into a massive ball of flames, which is both scary and intriguing at the same time. At the end of the day, if you're lucky enough to watch an actual mud volcano eruption, don't light a match. On the northern shore of Java, one of Indonesia's many islands, sits the Blora Regency, a county of almost 1 million people. Their economy hinges on high levels of agriculture. and they're one of the leading producers in the country. However, Blora farmers got a good scare in the summer of 2020 when the ground beneath them started shaking. The rumble led up to a massive mud volcano in the distance, and they were ultimately powerless against the impending eruption. Motorcycles cleared the blast area, and villagers watched on as one of nature's biggest mysteries played out before their eyes.
Kasongo meledos na kasongo. Kasongo meledos na kasongo. Woi Melayu. Hei. Ayo kesel. Bantu yuk, bantu yuk, bantu yuk. Bantu, bantu. Woi Melayu.
In hindsight, nobody in the video was in any immediate danger. Still, it must be scary knowing the ground you're standing on could possibly erupt. Farmers watched as mud shot 30 meters into the air and covered the surrounding area, and cattle, in subterranean goop. The eruption itself lasted for 10 minutes before anybody could move in to inspect the damage. One poor buffalo couldn't get out of the blast zone in time and was covered in mud. Meanwhile, more than a dozen buffalo went missing from nearby farms as herders were forced to abandon them for safety. Unfortunately, conflicting reports don't give a clear answer on the fate of the buffalo. Some say they went missing, others claim the mud volcano killed them. However, from what we know about mud volcanoes, the buffalo was probably okay. Just a little scared, if anything. Surprisingly, 4 of the farmers needed medical attention after inhaling fumes while trying to save their buffalo. They said the air smelled like sulfur, and they felt woozy after approaching the blast area. Hopefully, the mud shooting up from the earth wasn't too hot, and our little buffalo friend just got a relaxing mud bath. If you scroll into the middle of Trinidad and Tobago on Google Maps, you'll find a small village named Piparo. To the west, you'll see a landmark called the Piparo Mud Volcano. Piparo isn't known for much, but the mud volcano west of the village put it on the global map in 1997. Bear with us, the footage wasn't shot with the best of equipment. On February 23rd of 1997, the Piparo Mud Volcano suddenly erupted, shooting material over 200 feet in the air. The eruption was so large that officials declared the village a disaster area. While most mud volcanoes do very little damage, the Piparo eruption left 108 people homeless. Villagers hightailed it away from the massive eruption as gunk rained down on their homes and streets below. Early intrigue turned to pandemonium as the mud kept coming. Soon, car horns blared and villagers weaved in and around each other to get to safety. Many homes, cars, and animals were buried under tons of gassy gray mud. The eruption was so big that over 300 people evacuated their homes within a 1-mile radius of the blast. The eruption itself looked like it was never going to end, but it finally settled down after doing millions of dollars worth of damage. Today, the Piparo Mud Volcano is almost like a holy site for the people who live there. Every year, around or on February 23rd, residents gather in prayer at the eruption site, offering flowers and reverence for a day they'll never forget. As we all know, Yellowstone National Park is basically just a giant volcano. As you venture around the beautiful landscape, Remember that you're actually standing in the mouth of a supervolcano that could devastate most of the United States if it erupted at scale. Thankfully, there is little reason to worry. So get in there and enjoy one of nature's more interesting sights, the mud pots of Yellowstone National Park. Unlike mud volcanoes, mud pots are super small and resemble a pool of bubbling mud rather than a funnel-shaped volcano. Wherever you can find mud volcanoes, you'll often find mud pots. In this video, our mud pot enthusiast explores the mud pots of Southern California. As he gets closer, you can see the bubbles pop like mud-filled balloons, sending boiling water and mud spewing in every direction. Mud pots like these are found worldwide and are basically acidic hot springs. Microorganisms thrive in the acidic mud and help turn the surrounding rock into clay and more mud. They're similar to hot springs, but they take on a grayish color because mud pots are more acidic and have less water. The goop is thicker and propelled into the air from underlying volcanic activity. Unfortunately, mud pots stink. You'll probably smell one before you see it if you're walking through Yellowstone. That's because acidic systems usually involve hydrogen sulfide gas, giving them that classic rotten egg smell associated with sulfur. So, if walking in the mouth of a world-ending supervolcano wasn't enough to ruin your appetite, the smell of rotten eggs fuming from the Yellowstone mud pots will. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more just like it, then be sure to click the link on screen now. With that, thank you all for watching and be sure to tune in next time.